When I walked in here, the whole place was like a dream world. There were sculptures everywhere on the floor. It was just someone put down its tools and left. So I didn't want to take anything out of here. I wanted to keep everything as it was. That was my dream, to just leave it. The broker was the clever one. He wanted to take out the sculptures to sell it separately. And I had to pay for it. It was natural. They were done here, belonged here. Yes, I did put up the building for sale just about 2 weeks ago. I was holding on for a long time not to be torn down.
Hey, Clara.
So that tire. Good morning, everybody. My name is Clara Aich. I was born in Hungary, in Budapest. I don't want to say the age. Just out of joke, yes, anyway, yeah. I'm a photographer, and I have been doing commercial photography at least the last 30 years, 35 years. My mother chose the profession for me, which was really fantastic. She knew that I was not really a serious scholar, but I was very good with my hands, and she decided that that would be a good direction because I had to choose something, and went to a graphic art school in Vienna. That was the greatest thing. It's just great to be a photographer, so I can tell you all that was the best choice of my life and her suggestion. That was a 3-year school, and afterwards I worked for a fashion photographer in Vienna as an assistant, and she suggested if you want to be ever a really good photographer, you have to go either to America or to London or to Paris and have some experience. She also gave me the name of the photographer she worked for while she was in New York, and that was Hans Namuth, who was a very well-known architect photographer. So I wrote him, and he said, well, come, if you're here, and if I need somebody, and if you're good enough, then I would, then you can work for me. And so I did arrive with $100 in my pocket. I went to see the photographer, and he did put me into the darkroom and check out my darkroom work. And he said, okay, you're good. So he hired me. So I worked for him for 1 year. And then I started to do freelance assisting, which was fantastic.
Can I have you looking that way?
Shall I have a few thoughtful expressions?
Exactly.
I feel like I'm a movie star now. All these paparazzis around me. The building was 1848. Originally, this still was a farmland here, and it was called Rose Hill, which I thought was a very beautiful name. And I don't know why it skips Bay now, but it should have just remained Rose Hill. There was somebody here in the 1870s with the name of Power. And I heard that he was a very well-known sculptor, and he was also a judge in Philadelphia afterwards. Okay, whatever, sorry. Parzini, the gentleman who sold it to me, was an absolutely beautiful old Italian gentleman. When I met him shortly, he came with a carnation, and he was so polite and so elegant, and he showed me around. It was his father, actually, the first original Parzini who worked with Rochette. They were working here. In 1906, Rochette and Parzini, they came from Italy because they were doing architecture molds by hand, and they were all doing the carvings here. They were making the molds, and some bronzes were made of it. A lot of important pieces were made out of this place here. There's a whole history on them. And that was sort of active until the 50s. The building was just basically abandoned here, and it was just sort of idly sitting there for, I don't know, 5-6 years, and then I came along. That is, Saint Stefan is the saint patron of Hungary, and it was the first king who stabilized the Hungarians, being Huns. They were wild, and he was the one who settled them for Christianity. So this one is.
Was it here when you came?
Yes. Mm-hmm. At that time, I had a studio on 14th Street and 5th Avenue. Then there was another studio for another year, but then they sold the building. And so I was looking for a space. All I knew, I wanted to have a high ceiling. I was looking for something which had some spirit, something. A broker took me around. At first, the broker said to me, well, I don't know if you really want to see that, but it has some interest in it, if you can deal with it. I said, yes, show it to me. So then we walked in, and it was just a complete ruin. I just looked around, and I said, beautiful. I felt like I'm in Rome, or I'm in Greece, or in Turkey, on the ruins. So it got me immediately, and I said to him, I love it. I did not care how much it would cost. I had no idea. People told me just before the closing that it's going to cost you at least $100,000 to fix it at that time. And I said, well, I don't have it. That time I had to buy lenses and look into second-hand lenses and second-hand cameras, and so I had to second-hand lights, so I had to set up my studio as well. So that was, everything was on a string, and the building was on a string, you know. And then he said, well, can you fix it? I said, well, maybe, you know, slowly. And that was 40 years of That was in 1980, 1979, but winter 80. So that's how I saw it. That's how I saw the building. There was a collapsed roof, there was snow in the ground here, and all these sculptures were just lying all over the place, whatever. But I had to get rid of at least this floor, this section here, because I needed it for my backdrop shootings, you know. There was no heat, there was nothing. I mean, there was just one little toilet, we were all warming up with my assistant under the light here. We were coming in, it was just one long light. So it was sort of a long-term project. But I love the building. The building, no matter what, it had an incredible spirit. So some sort of a warmth, you know. You get the light very soon, maybe. Right in the afternoon. Then it comes down like a Rembrandt light here. And careful here. These are still the old steps. Oh yeah, that is they were moving down the sculptures down here. You see, this can be all lifted up, and also over my bed can be lifted up, and this hoist goes all the way down. You know, this moves in every direction. There was also full of sculptures here. That was all moved. And this one. While I was working here, basically I liked people, and I liked the people stopping by here all the time. I'm on the road here, on the street, easy to come in. I was not afraid to keep the door open even. At that time, the neighborhood really was not as good. And people warned me, be a little bit more careful. There's a lot of lovely old Spanish people, Puerto Rican people lived here. I put out for them a little table and gave them some beer, and they were all sitting outside and in front of the house. So it was like a little cafe here. I had the feeling that there's sort of a protection to a certain degree. This became part of the neighborhood a little bit here. It was a memory at that time. Just friends were stopping by and said, how is it going, how is it going? And I always said it was like a roadhouse on a Silk Road. Musicians asking, can we just rehearse here a little bit? This became more and more a hangout place. And I welcomed it. I welcomed having friends here and having the artistic kind of environment here. There was always an espresso, not too much to offer, but some coffee we always had. So 2 years ago, there was Othello was performed here for 2 months. She was killed up there on the staircase. That's Demona.
Do you have any upcoming events here?
There would be something on the 18th. This is just a friend of mine who's an actor, and he does a reading here from his work. Nice. So that will be just one evening. One day I received a letter, And it was signed by Lynn Parzini. Dear Mrs. Aich, I found you that you are the one who took care of this building and built it up, and I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate it. She was the daughter of Rochette and Parzini, the original Parzinis, who worked here from 1906. I told her also that I kept everything I could. So she was very happy that I was still her past here. She came here, she stayed here with her daughter. So it became a friendship. So ever since we're in contact. So it's a whole dynasty of the Parzinis here. Yes, I did put up the building for sale just about 2 weeks ago. There were developers coming throughout the years to try to build up 4 more stories because it has air rights. And I said that really would be very sad. But I like to just make sure that it gets respected and loved somehow. A supporter of arts who would do some interesting projects, because otherwise it's not feasible. The heat, the air conditioning, it's very expensive. That would be the dream. So let's believe that good things will happen. So the right person will come who will just cherish it and love it, even if it's not an institute, but at least somebody who will respect it. So at the end is 1848. At the end, there was an important work done here. So one way or the other, at least it gets a lot of respect. The people, they came here, they just loved it. When they are here and we have something, they don't even leave. There's always another 2 hours, you can count on it, and it's kind of standing around. We see, I mean, the book is not finished, not closed yet. We're still writing the pages, see which way it will go.
Thank you so much for watching the video. The best way to support me and the continued creation of these videos is to pre-order my photography book, Artist in Residence, at the link in the description. The book is my continued documentation of the last generation of artists living in these unique studios and lofts across New York City. Thank you so much for watching these videos. It really means a lot to me and to all of the artists that are featured in them.